This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
This is the Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership. It is Wednesday, November 15th, and it is 6:10 p.m. Welcome, everybody. Let's just go around and quickly introduce ourselves since we're a small group. I'm Janet Tatro. I'm the chair of the Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership.
I'm Jackie Brousseau Pereira, and I've been on the Fair and Affordable Housing Partnership forever.
Our longest serving member.
That's right.
That's wonderful. That makes you sound old, but you're not.
Well, just saying.
Do you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name is Mark Walmsley. I'm Conservation Director at Kestrel Land Trust, and I'm a guest at the meeting today.
And I'm Rachna Crowley. I'm a Senior Director of Development with the Community Builders, also a guest at today's meeting.
Do our virtual folks want to introduce themselves?
Sure, I can start. I'm Kayam Jemrog McQuaid. I'm a member of the Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership. That'll be about 2 years in February. And I'm also the coordinator for the Easthampton Housing Coalition.
And I'm Donna Chapello. I am a resident of Easthampton, and I was invited to come to the meeting by Jackie. But I'm sorry that I'm not there in person. I'm stuck in my car.
Next time.
Welcome, Donna.
Thank you.
Jessica Allen, project manager at Valley CDC and regular attendee of the partnership meetings.
Hi, Jeff. All right, first thing on our agenda is to approve our September meeting minutes, which are not ready. So we are going to table that until December. And so we'll approve November and December at the next meeting. So next on our agenda is a conversation with our guests about the 385 Main Street project.
Awesome.
So welcome.
Thank you so much for having us back. We were last year, I think it was July. Does that sound right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So we, at that time, we gave an update about the really exciting partnership between Kestrel Land Trust and the Community Builders for the very large hay field at 385 Main Street. And just a quick refresher on what it is. It's about 53 acres. It's immediately adjacent to a senior building that the Community Builders developed in 1990. We call it College Highway Apartments. And the sort of collaboration includes a significant amount of the property being conserved through Kestrel as a conservation property, and then the front, part to be developed for housing. Where we are, we have some updated concepts to show you. Last time when we presented, it was very conceptual, and we didn't have a lot of, kind of design concepts developed. And so we wanted to come back, show you what those look like, get more feedback, and also just give you sort of general updates on where we are in the process. So I can start with the fun stuff, and then we can talk about timeline and next steps. Excellent. Exciting. Great. So where's a good place for the
The owl will follow you.
Yeah. Okay. Doesn't matter.
Oh, there it goes.
Oh, there we go. A little bit.
Yeah. There. Okay.
Okay. Great. So again, this is College Highway, the Mass DOT road.
Yeah.
The Southampton line is right around here. This is True Heart Drive, which comes here. It's a cul-de-sac road. And then here you can see the edge of the parking lot of the senior building. And that's just to orient everyone. So this is the whole property.
I'm adjusting here.
Okay.
That seems to work.
Okay. It's 53 acres total. On this plan, you can see that the vast majority of it, including a small bit of frontage and the farm road as it currently exists, will continue to be conserved. This will be the parcel that's owned long-term by Kestrel with a conservation restriction on it. And then this is about 10 to 11 acres-ish in the front that will be owned by TCB and or TCB affiliates, and includes the I think there are 29 unit buildings to be developed in phases. What else? You can see kind of the Manhattan River here. Here you can see the different pockets of kind of ravines and wetlands shown. So there's a lot of, it's a kind of tough site in some senses, because there's a significant amount of wetlands to work around. There's a gas line that easement that cuts through the site. So that just means we can't build over it, and getting approvals to do what we're doing, will be a part of our process as well. So that, I think, anything else on the big picture?
Can I ask a question about the things that are just solid green? Those are the agricultural lands. See how
Yes, yeah, those are the fields.
Okay.
Those kind of
Oh, yeah.
fields are kind of three lobes, and then the main field at the front. And
Okay.
then forest.
Yeah, this is wooden. Yeah. Okay. That's what it looks like. Yeah. I just wanted to double check.
Okay. And then we got, here's like a zoom in. Slowly getting closer and closer. The orientation, yes. Okay. So now you can see the housing parcel a little more clearly. You can also see the College Highway building right here. And so our thought is that this is going to be developed in phases, where we had a sort of a tech review meeting, if you will, about a week and a half ago, right here in this building, and got some very preliminary feedback from fire, DPW. Lots of folks were in the room, police. So that was super helpful. And we're hoping to continue those conversations through Jeff and the mayor and the various departments. The kind of phasing we're hoping will begin with an initial build out of some of the infrastructure, which could include, infrastructure to serve the buildings, as well as construction of the loop road. And then what we want to do is continue talking with the city. One of the things we're showing here is, in addition to obviously we'll need a new curb cut here, but we're hoping to program like a new bus stop over here, but that needs Mass DOT approval and so on and so forth. Hoping to do like a pedestrian crossing, we'll have to see, what's involved. But, we know the rail trail is on the other side. What are things we can do to encourage more active use of that kind of thing? So more to come on all of that, but that's sort of very early thinking. And then the first phase of building construction would again involve a rehab of the senior building, as well as probably the construction of one of these 29 unit buildings, the one that plays the most closest to it. And then
there's an access road, right, from the senior building into the property?
Yeah, so and we're still sort of thinking through kind of one-way, two-way traffic type stuff, but I think right now our plan would be that this would be kind of the main entrance in, and this would be an exit, and then folks would come out this way. So using the existing driveway for College Highway as a way to come out of the new community. And then these other two buildings would follow in terms of the second phase of construction. But totally done with the project. It's similar to the last one. I don't even know if it's different.
Lots of the existing buildings showing at the bottom.
Thank you, Jackie. It's a little more zoomed in. So I guess here's a good,
Those better or?
Yeah, we can sort of point out the buildings a little bit. We do have some renderings of them to show you, but I guess just to say a few things. So each building has a very similar kind of design concept, stacked units, but each one will have kind of a different first floor program space. So here we would have, say, like a community room with a kind of open field area for like kicking around a soccer ball, that kind of thing. Here might be a management suite, and here might be a fitness room. So kind of each building will have its own kind of common area amenity purpose that is a little bit different and sort of complements each other. Here you can see a new pedestrian path that we're hoping to build, connecting the existing senior building and also the whole community. Kind of a nice meandering path through the conservation areas. Here as well. here you can see in a couple of areas where it crosses over the wetlands, we'll need to do kind of more of a boardwalk style path. But the vision here is that this would be fully accessible. And so kind of welcoming to all. Here we have like a new playground also for everyone, kind of both communities. And then, Mark, do you want to talk a little bit about the conservation road and kind of the parking lot area?
Yeah, so again, I think one of the most interesting, innovative portions of this project for us is we're getting a chance to conceptualize and develop both the conservation area and the new neighborhood together, not as separate entities, but to intertwine them, as well as giving access for the public more broadly. So Rasha has already touched on a lot of that, intersecting the trail network through the new community to the senior development. We were really pleased, and I'm sure Rasha's going to give us some updates on some of the community outreach we've done, but residents in the senior community were really thrilled at the idea of being able to access this property. They're like, it's still too wet right now. Like, what if there was an accessible trail? They were really excited about that. But again, so we will have a parking area for the general public right at the entrance, which Kestrel again will end this on this existing road. At the start, it'll just be kind of roughed out, but as the whole project moves forward, it'll probably be developed and paved more formally. And then we'll have like a really nice promenade kind of walkway that also doubles as a farm access road back to the parcels. And again, it's going to be a mix. This is going to be a really lovely node back here that Rashma mentioned, a gathering space for people from the broader community and from the new neighborhood, where some of the best views will be on site. We can show that in some of the renderings. So that would be a great node there. And then it'll branch out to the trail network through the rest of the property and to adjoining properties. We have at least two other conservation properties adjoining. The Skama Conservation Trust has a property right there along the river, and the town of Southampton has a property right across the river. So we're just starting to try and, analyze the site, saying, how much public access to where, to that land, where are the most sensitive areas that you might not want to route a trail through. So that's coming together, but there's a few things that lend themselves, we can see already. Another thing to mention just very briefly is something that we're considering, and I think we mentioned, we met with you before, there are a lot of good agricultural soils on site. What is going to be the purpose of those? We will minimally at least mow the existing fields and keep them open, but there's an opportunity to do more. Community gardens, a community farm on site. So those are bigger management decisions.
Have you talked to Liz Adler from Mountain View Farm?
Yeah, no, we are going to start to. There are many things. Yeah,
they lost a lot of their. I'm one of their members of the farm share, and they lost.
Yeah. A lot.
So much. And I was talking to her about this project, and I thought, well, maybe you should talk to Mark about the idea of there being some, agricultural possibilities there.
So we're really open to any kind of community connections like that. The more synergy starts to happen and different ideas and it comes together. The other thing I'll throw out, we've mentioned, but we didn't have anything planned for, it would be really amenable, this site, to like an art and landscape type thing. Similar to Park Hill almost. I don't want to steal the thunder at all, but so there's a lot of different ways that we can really make this site a wonderful place, and really combine that open space and give access to the community that they might not otherwise.
Great. Okay, so now here are some of the renderings of the building. So this is a view across Welsh Highway. Kind of anticipating this new bus stop. These electric lines are existing, and we don't anticipate, we can do anything about that. So we wanted to really kind of portray it accurately. Here, you get a sense of just how far back the new buildings will be. The property itself is, kind of has some gentle slopes, but it looks fairly flat. But you can kind of see in the rendering, it's kind of moving up and down a little bit. These are a view of the three different buildings, imagining a full build out and the new roadway. We would anticipate planting trees. They're going to be kind of petite in the beginning, right? They take a while to mature, so we asking our design team to find solid trees in the rendering. People want to see the mature trees right as soon as it's built, and that'll actually happen right away. This right here, I think, is a maintenance building. So there'll be 4 total structures on the site. This will be a new maintenance garage. For the community.
I think I should point out, actually, so this space right here that looks like a lawn, this is actually a wetland. This is a delineated wetland, so this might be kind of a more of a wetland planting here. It might be a little more naturalistic.
Yeah.
So because that could also look very attractive as well, kind of from the rim, kind of keep a lot of its current character.
Just that front section?
Oh, there's wetlands behind it too, but this front section, actually, we think actually building College Highway dammed up the water on the property and created right there, so
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be a great project for the landscape architecture students at UMass.
yes.
Yeah,
yeah,
the garden.
This is a view from the new drive. And here's that same maintenance building. As you're coming into the site, you can see the building a little bit more closely. In terms of a design aesthetic, we wanted to find something that would really blend with the natural landscape, sort of a little bit agricultural, a little simple, but not, but kind of looks very nice. So that's sort of the balance we're going for, the look we're going for. These are going to be highly energy efficient buildings. We're not quite sure exactly what standard we're going to design to. Again, it's very early, but we know we will be meeting a high green standard, energy efficiency. They'll be all electric, that kind of thing. Okay, cool. Just one more. We're done with this part. This is actually a view sort of from True Heart Drive, like kind of imagining what it might look like from the back of the property.
Someone's backyard.
From someone's backyard, yeah, exactly. And just wanting to, again, sort of for folks to appreciate that there's a great conservation area that's going to be back here, mostly unchanged for a lot of the folks who live off of True Heart, and just a little bit of the building, back of the building.
And one of the things, we talked about a lot with the design team was keeping the orientation of buildings for one reason, to keep the view kind of through. So the site's really interesting. Depending on where you are, you either get a good view of Pomeroy Mountain or Mount Tom. And we're trying to preserve those as much as possible for the orientation of the building. One of the other things we notice is that with the buildings where they are, there's going to be kind of a new view shed that a lot of people are going to be seeing when they're on the site, especially if they're out in this kind of play area and kind of the open community space. The view to the field to the north is going to become really, really attractive. So this is kind of gets a feeling of kind of the expanse that someone who's on the site, or actually just in senior housing too, just to north of that, with state.
You can tell that the building, we didn't put it out, but on the site concept, the buildings all have, solar, so there's space over there. Yeah. That's why they're oriented that way. That and the kind of view corridor, we really wanted to be able to create space in between the buildings so people can see these beautiful views of the conservation land.
This is the views and energy.
Yeah, that's great. Okay.
So it's 3 residential and then the maintenance thing? 3 residential buildings.
Okay. Great. So, so the units themselves are going to be a mix of, I think we went over this last time, it hasn't really changed in terms of the program. It'll be family housing, all rental. It'll be between, studios and 3 bedrooms, with the vast majority of the units sort of heavy on the 1s and the 2s. It's going to serve a wide variety of households. Folks who make 30% of area median income, or extremely low income, all the way up to 80% of the area median income. So it'll be 100% affordable and financed through the low-income housing tax credit program. We have initiated our very first step of going through a 40B is to submit a project eligibility letter to the state. So that was submitted about a month or so, something like that. So our understanding is that the state and the city will work together kind of on next steps. The state may do a site visit, and there'll be some communication back and forth. And at that point, the conclusion of the state's review process is when we would then be eligible to come in to apply for an APB, which at this juncture, we're anticipating sort of it kicking off in the first quarter of 2024. So that's our next timeline. We are applying for CPA funds to help with the acquisition. So as a reminder, we talked about this last time. We don't, Kestrel does not yet own the property. They are under a purchase and sales agreement with a purchase that's contingent on getting that 40B application approved. And so you want to talk a little bit about the CPA application? And
sure, it was just submitted. The first meeting is tomorrow night, kicking it off. Yes, we're asking for $600,000 to help offset the acquisition of the property. The entire purchase price for the property is $2.5 million. The purchase and sale agreement that Kestrel holds right now is assignable in whole or in part. So the idea would be that at closing, and the closing right now is scheduled to has to occur before June 30th of next year, 2024. We have to acquire. But at closing, the parcel would be basically split in two, with the housing component and the conservation component. Let's see, as Rachna mentioned, shortly after or simultaneously, a conservation restriction will be put on the conservation land. Right now, it will at least be held by Mass Audubon. It might be co-held by Mass Audubon and the city, depending on for some reasons to consider that. Yeah, so we're on a tight timeline. We're going to try and move it all forward.
You say the sale is contingent upon the 40B permit, and so you need that before June 30th. Okay.
Yeah, it's a tight timeline. And we have to get all our funding in order as well, certainly, which again is going quite well so far. We actually received a state conservation partnership grant to help offset the cost of the conservation, which is great. So everything's in place. It's just blowing it all together. Yeah.
We did host a couple of community meetings. Mark alluded to those. So we invited seniors who live and folks who live in the College Highway building to hear about the new development and also the rehab. And then about a week after that, we hosted a meeting for folks on Tree Park Drive, as well as folks right on College Highway, both on our side of the street, as well as kind of across the street.
How did it go with the True Park Drive folks?
Yeah, I think having a meeting was really helpful. I think there were concerns about the development. I think that folks really understood that if they like the open field, that this is the project to support because it's got so much conservation. So I think that the sort of takeaway was good. I'm sure we're still going to have to work through kind of concerns, but it was good way to start the conversation.
Yeah, that was my thing. The initial public meetings, obviously people are taking this in for the first time and trying to kind of conceive what it means. But I think by the end, people, this might be one of the first time where we actually got a hug from a neighbor at the end of the meeting, which was actually, that was a good one. We appreciated the affirmation, yes. But yeah, well, again, we have a lot more work to do and a lot more people to talk to, and a lot more ideas to take in from the community too about kind of how people want to see this awesome stuff.
I did go to the ZBA. Jeff asked me to go to the ZBA meeting last week to tell them about the housing production plan and just give them we have this plan and it calls for housing and this parcel is actually included. And so just to kind of try to get them thinking that something might come their way. They'd spent a lot of time right before that talking about porch overhangs for something. And so, I think I've always think it's really strange that the ZBA hears 40B projects because they spend so much of their time doing such very specific zoning things, and the plan, it just to me seems like a strange choice on the state's part. That's pretty important. And I know that Jeff has also been in touch with MHP about some technical assistance. So I think the idea is to help the ZBA feel supported during this process so that they are ready and have their, the support they need to understand the process, which I think is good.
And I know the ZBA is going to be dealing specifically with the 40B, but I think one of the things that we found helpful, and I found helpful, is mentioning how the site overall is mentioned both in the housing production plan and the open space plan of the city. So you have both those identified values on the same property. So what we're really trying to do is make both happen on the same property.
Talk about a win-win.
Yeah, that's how we see it.
Great. Do folks have questions?
I'm so excited. Such a great project.
Why June 30th? Is it the seller's deadline?
There's two aspects that are tricky. Yes. So right now it's the sellers. We've extended the purchase and sale a few times.
Okay.
So we know we're going to certainly try and keep to that. The other issue we'd run into is this most recent, the Conservation Partnership Grant. It's on the state fiscal year schedule. So basically you have to close by the end of the fiscal year and submit all your reimbursement materials by, basically July 15th. I'm on track. Jamie shaking her, she knows these grants.
Such a quick turnaround.
It is a really fast turnaround, but the project is now moving quickly, so we can keep it on a good pace.
Did you already submit to the ZBA for the comp permit?
Not yet.
Do you have a date for that?
We're hoping early in 2024. We have to, part of what we're doing now is trying to get feedback on the site plan concept, from departments and from you all, so that when we authorize our civil engineer to advance, that they have to take the drawings pretty far in order to be able to submit. So we want to make sure that's as good as possible, incorporating as much feedback as possible. So.
And we submitted the letter to the state.
Oh yeah, I think.
Yeah. Is anyone on the computer have any questions?
Yeah, I had a couple, or I guess one question. But first, I just wanted to reiterate how excited I am about this project. And since it was introduced, it's just a combination, I think, of two things that Easthampton really needs. And it's clear that you guys have put in a lot of work into preparing this presentation, and I really appreciate the renderings and everything. It's very helpful and great. And I also look forward to chatting more in the context of the Housing Coalition and all of that. My one question is, based on those meetings that you had with the community members and the abutters, are there any specific comments that you predict will come up again or will be sticky as this process moves forward in terms of your site plan? If there are any specific comments around traffic or the view or.
Yeah, great question. I think some of what we heard was about concerns about property values. We heard concerns about wildlife and wanting to make sure that they continue to sort of use the open areas and traverse and that kind of thing. I do think that kind of traffic and understanding parking and traffic will be important. I guess one thing we heard a bunch, which we also feel to be true, is that the traffic on College Highway right at that spot, and maybe in general, is pretty fast. And so how do we think about how does a project sort of work into that? And so I think, we're going to be ordering a traffic study as one of our next steps, and then also wanting to continue to talk with Jeff and others of the city about kind of the best practices and thoughts around anything we can propose to Mass DOT that would be helpful. And then what else? I think that was did I miss anything?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I think two things that struck me. One is, I think it's very helpful that TCD already has a housing development right there.
Yep.
So people were trying to say, well, this is going to be different, but still you already have something that people know and are familiar with, and the quality and the residents. It's been there. It's already integrated, and this is going to be integrated conceptually as well. I think from the conservation side of things, I think I think the organized conservation community in Easthampton is a pretty pragmatic bunch. They've known this property for a while, and I think they know what's possible and what's not. And I think they will be on board in supporting. I think from our perspective, it'll be really kind of getting out and letting the neighbors know that change will happen on this property no matter what. And they have an opportunity to support the direction of that change, and hopefully the involvement of Kestrel and Piscomic being supportive and Mass Audubon's being supportive will kind of clue everyone in that, you know, we are concerned about the same things that they are in terms of wildlife corridor and habitat, and we think this is really the best that can be done for this property, as well as serving another obvious public good.
Right.
So we are fully behind it. So hopefully that will carry some weight.
How many units is the existing development?
40.
It's about twice the size as the proposed is about twice the size.
Right, it's 87, yeah,
Right.
so a little bit more.
Yeah, so I mean, I think people who live there can picture what like twice the traffic would look like coming out of that, and like, okay, it's
Right,
not much more.
right. And then the other piece that I think really folks also seem to really appreciate is that our timeline is quite long, right?
Yeah.
It takes a long time to get the financing together to be able to build this out. It's already going to be phased into infrastructure in 2 phases of build out. And so, you know, by the time this is all done, we're talking at least like 2027, 2028. And so kind of this, they're not going to wake up one day and have it be this like boom, you know, it's really, you're going to feel it in small doses. And again, 80% of it is going to be exactly the way it is.
And are all 3 buildings proposed at the same time, or would they be phased?
No, they're going to be phased out. So there'll be 1 new building with the rehab, and then probably a year or 2 later, the other 2 buildings.
What's the rehab?
They're rehabbing the senior building.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Not like a rehab facility. Or
No. Sorry, renovation of an existing senior building.
I think the traffic, you know, and I'm sure you'll include this in the traffic study, but that intersection at South Street, that's already problematic. And then I guess it's in Southampton, the turn from Coleman Road onto Route 10, if you're turning, because this is how I go to Big Y, if you're turning left to go to Big Y, it's hard. It's hard. There's a lot of traffic. People are coming fast down Route 10.
Yeah.
So I feel like those are the 2 big intersections that people will bring up. But the South Street one gets a lot of attention because there's frequent accidents there because people are crossing over South Street and crossing over Route 10, I guess.
Crossing Main Street.
Crossing Main Street from South Street to whatever that street is across. Something else.
I forget what it's called on the other side.
It's like a stop sign.
There's like a
South
blinking
Street.
stop sign, but it's.
And there's been a lot of community push to try to get a traffic signal there, but it doesn't meet DOT's. Or like last time the city looked into it, didn't meet DOT's traffic volumes to warrant just a full.
So maybe it will now.
Maybe it will.
Right. So actually, people are happy about that.
Win-win. Right.
They want a light.
Right.
You get a light.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do like those. And they work. They do work. Hate to admit it.
Some people really hate the one outside Mountain View School, and I'm like, what's the problem?
I don't understand the
Like,
problem.
you just drive around it. Doesn't bother me. So, does anyone else have any other questions? Jess, Donna, Kayam, any more questions?
Do we want to talk about this?
I have one question. I just wanted to clarify. I think that I heard that these were all, and I'm new to this, so please forgive me, but these are all going to be rental units. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. That's my only question.
So what do you need from us? So you're going to CPA tomorrow. We anticipate this is going to take more than 1 CPA meeting.
It's going to take at least 2. I think the hope is that Dan Rest, who's retiring, who's the chair of the CPA committee and on the city council, that hopefully he can shepherd this through into meetings to
Before he retires
and help get this to city council. But the city council piece of it would probably straddle terms, depending on how quickly things can get approved, and when the CPA holds their meeting in December. So.
And this is something that Dan Rist ostensibly would support pretty strongly, right?
Yeah, it's a little, the CPA right now has enough projects coming in this month and next month to completely spend out all the remaining money that's in their accounts and additional money that they don't have in their accounts. So that's the contentious bit of it. But the CPA is sitting on $790,000 that can only be spent for affordable housing.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna, yeah.
But they are having, and then they have about $360,000 in their open space account and, sorry, not open space, in their undesignated account, which could be used for anything. But they have another, like, I don't know, $400,000, $500,000 on top of the, this request. So it would essentially wipe out the CPA's accounts, and they have to reconcile with that, because that's never happened where they've spent out their funding before the fiscal year is over.
So they have two, so there's another housing project also going at CPA. And are there other requests also, or it's just these two?
So then the pool at Nantucket Park is coming back for a third funding request. And Lathrop Communities is bringing a $90,000 request probably in December to do some invasive species management on their properties. So
species, housing. Okay.
So when you
$90,000 for invasive species,
it's a 3-year management plan.
So it's really only 30 a year.
My question though is
right. I mean, so they don't need it all at once. Exactly. Yeah. You're very sharp.
Yeah.
That's why we keep her around.
I'm here for the math.
But my question is, so you're going to CPA asking for it under open space or under thing? Because you're using it to purchase the property.
We have flexibility, so we hopefully that will work to our advantage. It sounds like there's nothing really in the open space account right now, but certainly undesignated would be used for anything. Yeah, so I mean, it could certainly. That's where, you know, if some of the money was to be used for the conservation parcel, the fact that the city could be a co-holder on the CR would work perfectly with the CPA requirements. We'd be willing to grant that even without that. But again, it's a big budget. We can, and there's 2 parcels, and you know, they appraise correctly, so we could move the request around however it fits what funding was available.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was going to be like a sticking point.
We're hoping it works to our advantage, that, you know, we can sort of be flexible, whereas other folks probably can't. So.
How much is the other request for housing?
500,000.
Is it Berry Street?
Yes. But what I'm not, they're asking for 100,000 this year and then 200,000 in each of the subsequent fiscal years. But it's unclear if they need it all appropriated now, and they're like, we don't need it for 2 years, or
we need a promise,
but they need a promise, or how their budget actually works. So, you know, if they only need $100,000 appropriation now plus the 600,000, and there's 790 in the account, that math works.
Yes, right.
But if they need all of it now, then we're gonna be in.
We're going to
tough
have
situation.
You arm wrestle.
Yeah, because then there won't be any funds for the pool.
Yep.
Do we know what the annual refresh rate of the CPA accounts are?
Yeah. So, generally speaking, the CPA takes in about $550,000 in local revenue each year. It increases by roughly 2.5% every year because of Proposition 2.5. So we know how much it's going to increase by, which I don't think was the intended effect of the proposition, but
just aptly named. Happy.
So and then there's a state match which varies considerably. In years past, it's come out to almost 50% match, but this year I think we're looking at about a 20% match. And who knows what next year's match will bring. So,
Yeah.
And then usually in the past years, the CPA has always carried over unspent money from previous years. So they've had like a large undesignated amount of funds that they could use for anything. It looks like they're going to spend through most, if not all of that. So the money that will carry over will be the money that like they didn't account for as money coming in, but still came in. So they estimated $550,000 in local revenue, but they actually took in $580. That $30,000 gets at the end of the year when they close the books, and they're like, oh, look, we have $30,000 more than we budgeted, and then that goes into undesignated transfer. So
Yeah.
let's say roughly it will be like $600,000 or so, or $700,000 at the beginning of FY24.
Okay. And how much is the pool request?
360, 370.
Yikes.
379, 841, and 76 cents.
Can we have a bake sale? Sorry.
The other, we can bond that funds. We can bond housing funds. So it gets more complicated though when the city's bonding for projects that are not our projects.
Yeah.
Right.
But the pool, wasn't the pool?
The pool is our project.
Yeah.
But the city doesn't need, the mayor's not going out to bond until April.
Okay.
For other reasons. And this would be, it's such a small amount of money, it doesn't, it's not, it doesn't make sense to go out for a separate bond for a small amount of money.
When do the CPA funds get replenished every year, or is it several times throughout the year, or?
It's July 1.
July 1, okay, so
it's the fiscal year.
yeah, around the same fiscal year as the state, okay.
We get the state match in November, usually mid-November. But that just confirms, or like we budget for what we think the state match is going to be in February. And then in November, we get the match, and hopefully the CPA hasn't spent everything by the time we get the match and find out that like actually we got more than we budgeted for and not less than we budgeted for, because
we're in November right now.
And we don't know
They're
that.
about to
So
exhaust their
theoretically,
funds.
we could end up in a situation where we thought we were budgeting for 20% match. And the state says, actually, you're only getting a 10% match. And we have to now figure out how to because our budget will have been off because we want to actually be taking in as much revenue as we expect. That's never happened, but it is possible.
And the 10 to 20% match is matching the around 500,000?
Correct.
Okay.
It's matching the local revenue raised by the CPA in the previous fiscal year.
Okay.
Wasn't it originally like 100% match?
Yeah, it was
For like a year.
It was about 100% match until about 2008. And then when the economy, the Great Recession and the housing market crashed, and because the match is based off home sales, that $25 recording fee or $50 recording fee that, so, and ever since then it's been low. And then more communities keep joining. So there's like 180 communities, Boston being a big one. But it used to be like every community paid the real estate fee when they're recording it, but only 10 communities were actually taking out.
That's true.
And now we have 351 communities paying in, but 180 are taking out, and one of those communities is like Boston, which when they raise their small amount of revenue, it's still like $50 million a year or something like that.
Yeah. So what do you need from us?
So I think an expression of support, if that's possible for the CPA ask, would be very helpful.
Yep.
Whatever you all are comfortable with. Sounds like a forum, but we would really appreciate that.
Do you need a written support, or?
I think written support would be fine. And
Say we were gonna do that, so I don't think we have to take a vote if we already said we were gonna do that.
We have a
We
quorum.
do have a quorum.
Oh, Shira's here.
Yay.
And we,
Time's on there.
and Chaim's here.
Is it 3?
It's 4 because we have one member who doesn't come, but is still on the partnership. But Oh, hi, Kyle. You authorized me to write a letter of support for the 40B part of the project,
okay,
which we haven't done
okay,
yet because we
okay.
haven't needed
Because
to.
we're not there yet.
But we also could write a letter of support for CPA, and I think also should show up.
I have another thing I'm supposed to, what
Yeah.
time is the CPA meeting tomorrow?
It is beginning at 6:00. And I would say, from my perspective, they've already submitted the application. There's letters of support. It's clear that it meets a need of the community. And if, in lieu of taking the time to write a letter, if you prefer to just show up and speak on behalf of the housing partnership, it's a hybrid meeting, so you don't even have to make the trek out to City Hall here. You could just
I have to go to my son's soccer banquet tomorrow.
And I have a thing tomorrow in Springfield, but.
Shira or Kayam, are you around to go to CPA tomorrow night?
In person or remote?
I'm in a class, but I might be able to make this more important than that class. Don't listen, Jackie. Don't listen. You didn't hear that.
A note from your dean. But there'll also be more than one meeting, right? I mean, do you think they're going to get to everything tomorrow night?
Yes, I do. They don't end until they've gone through the agenda.
Okay. Well, I think we could submit something in writing so that they have it for tomorrow night. And then if Kayam skips his class and is able to go.
I mean, I can also, I can't speak on behalf of, I can speak, I guess it's on behalf of, but I'm not as a member of the housing partnership, but.
Can I email them? What do I do?
You can just play
you
this
can email it.
meeting to them.
Right.
Say,
I can send them an email to the whole group.
Send it to Dan and ask him to read it.
Oh yeah, I could do that too.
That's actually probably the best.
Okay.
Can you CC me so I can just add it into the file?
Yeah. Why don't I do that? I will email Dan and ask him to read it in case nobody's there because we weren't able to come. But then when's the next meeting?
We don't know yet.
Okay, so then we can make it
something.
We can make an effort to be at the next meeting.
It'll either be December 14th or December 21st or December 7th.
Okay.
Or somewhere in between.
A multiple of 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think an official
Definitely
letter.
not the 28th though.
I mean, it's fine with me. I'm not taking vacation that way.
I think an official letter would probably, if we advance actually to the city council, would be
Oh yeah.
more helpful there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, when I submit the packet to the city council, I don't usually submit the backup. It's just, here's the funding request, here's the budget.
That's good to know.
But we frequently go to city council.
Yeah,
sometimes I put the whole application in, but then I've got a pushback because they don't want a 40-page application. So, yeah, the hardest part is getting it through the CPA committee.
Okay, that's excellent.
If and when the CPA committee approves it. Only once have I seen the city council deny something. And that was for a project that wasn't in Easthampton.
I think the CPA, I mean, obviously everybody's going to be excited about this project.
Yeah.
I think the tricky part is just going to be the competition because the other project is also exciting and maybe invasive species are exciting too. And so, it's just going to be I think that's going to be the hard part for them, not the merit of the project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You have to have the cash in hand. Yeah. You have to have the cash in hand by June 30th for the purchase. Right. You can't just have a promise.
Yeah.
This is coming.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's the plan. I will email Dan in the morning and ask him to read it at the meeting, and I will CC you. And then if Kayam's able to come, and then otherwise we'll plan to be there at the next meeting.
Kayam, you can watch the meeting surreptitiously in class. And then jump in if you're needed.
Yeah, I mean, regardless, I'm going to reach out to Dan Rist and I'm looking at the list of people right now. Jessica Allen, I'm expressing my support to you directly right now. And yeah, I'll reach out to everyone else on this list specifically to express support personally and also the Housing Coalition and all of that.
Great.
Okay.
We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and then we look forward to a very exciting 40B process.
Yes,
And, you know,
those are never dull.
maybe this one will be,
Maybe. I hope so.
right?
So I'll cross our fingers for that,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah, no, I mean, we you know, look forward to that and being there to support the project and, you know, we'll speak in support and all that stuff. So very exciting.
It is exciting. Sure, you should look at all the renderings that they brought, because you saw only some of them.
I definitely missed the first one.
Do you, want to connect with Liz at Mountain View Farm? I had mentioned your name.
Let's start the conversation. Oh, it'd be
To
wonderful.
her
That
a
would be
while
wonderful.
ago.
The more people we can talk to would be,
Yeah.
great.
Okay,
Thank you.
sure. Just remind her. Reach out.
All right. Great. Thank you so much for
Thank you for your
coming.
time.
I appreciate you coming in person.
Of course. Thanks for being open to the boards. It's fun to not always do Zoom.
Yeah, no, it was
PowerPoint.
it was nice. The renderings
Yeah.
were great.
It's
Yeah,
good
they-
to
they
see.
look
Yeah,
great.
on the
Yeah.
screen somehow it's just not nearly as exciting.
Yeah.
The screen, you're like,
I don't know, I was pretty excited when we just talked about it on Zoom too. But
Even
Even more exciting.
the street.
Could I ask one more question?
Sure, Donna.
Well, so I've been on the phone rather than on my computer because I've been driving and I've been listening, but I wasn't obviously able to see any of the renderings. Is
Yep.
that something that would be available for me to take a look at? Because it does sound it sounds very interesting and exciting, and I would like to look at them if I could.
We have not put the applications on the website yet. But I can do that tomorrow.
So on the Community Preservation Committee website,
So it's,
Okay.
if you go to easthamptonma.gov and then look at the CPA committee, and I'll add the 2 applications tomorrow.
Great. On the CPA, the CPA committee, did you say?
Yeah. So
Okay.
if you go to boards and committees, you'll see
Yeah.
a drop for CPA.
Okay,
Donna, the other
Great.
thing is
thank you.
eventually this meeting, will be part of the archive on, Easthampton Media, so you can go see them there too.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
You
great.
go watch the meetings and they would be there as well, but they won't look as well.
Yeah, I saw these the other day.
Yeah.
It won't be quite the same. It'll be
But the meeting was recorded, so all of the, everything that was being shown during
Is
the
being
meeting was available. Yes, I got it. Okay, yeah, no, I'll look around for them. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, it's 7:00 already.
Oh my goodness.
7:03.
Hey, the Tasty Top parcel was unanimously approved by the planning board last night.
Wow.
Yes. Super exciting.
Yes, I wanna hear more.
My husband and I coincidentally went to Sevens last night for dinner. And they were all there.
Oh, Rich.
And so that's how I first met them. So when we had gone to one of the public hearings maybe 6 months ago, and you read something.
Yeah.
I said something off the cuff because I felt there was some things that needed to be said. So I got up and spoke. And then after that night also, I went over to Sevens for dinner, and the guys were there, the head engineer, and the one that's just below him, and Frank and the lawyer, Don Abel, were all there. And they all pulled me aside and thanked me for my kind words. And so anyway, we saw them last night, and I was like, that was tonight. I totally forgot. Anyway, they were very excited. I'm very excited. So it was a very nice moment.
So can you give a recap? Because
I didn't go.
Okay.
I was waffling about going, and then if there wasn't going to be public comment, I didn't want to then be trapped there for hours and hours. Right. And we had a community action board meeting.
Yeah.
And Jeff wasn't sure that they would have public comment, and so I was like, okay, I'm not going.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened, but it was unanimously approved, which I'm a little surprised it was unanimous.
Me too.
Me too. It's excited. Frank mentioned that the I think only one person spoke, and it was the
Pascomic Trust.
They did their like final push.
Yeah.
And I guess that was it. And then after I forget his name.
Oh, Tom Brown.
The Pascomic.
Oh, no, Marty.
Yeah. Frank said he came up and shook my hand and said, you know, great job, you won. I hope you do great things or something like friendly, like a friendly concession, you know. That was cool. And then Frank said that the only other thing they're pending now is conservation.
Oh, still.
Yeah, but I don't think nobody seems to think that there's going to be an issue there, but they're still pending that approval.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
At least what I was told.
Yeah. No, I mean,
at a bar.
I think it's good. I think it was a tough project, but I think it can be good. So.
I'm super excited about it. I'm glad that the city council was able to, like you said, unanimous. I'm glad they were able to kind of.
It was approved at the planning board.
Sorry, the planning board. I'm glad they were able to get through some of the noise, shall we say, you know, and come to a decision that I'm very excited about.
Yeah. Well, I think the traffic, you know, the route, because they bought the site across the street and now they can make the roundabout bigger. Like, I think that helps alleviate the Mountain View Street traffic.
Right.
You know, like that kind of, because I think that was going to be problematic without the driveways lined up. So I think that kind of helps. So.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, great. Okay, last thing on our agenda, if anyone has the bandwidth for it, is to talk about potential zoning amendments and the current review of our current zoning, which has got a really big document that Jamie sent us that I haven't read. And I know that Ben is particularly interested in this issue, and Ben is not here.
I would like to make a motion that we postpone this discussion to next month's meeting. When
seconded.
Yeah,
is here.
I think that's fine.
Can I make a quick comment on this before we?
Yes.
I'm also very interested in this. And I also was very excited to see at the housing forum a lot of positive discussion around this, and I think that there's a lot of great potential for collaboration on city council and cooperation on some creative solutions to solve some of our zoning challenges. So that was very encouraging, and I think having another little while to think about this and read over the document will be good. And then also on a side note, if anyone has heard about like ChatGPT or some of the cool new features of that, I plugged in the entire zoning ordinance document along with the housing production plan and created a custom chatbot urban planning assistant that literally will has analyzed the entire zoning ordinance and like provides some very top level recommendations and like will answer questions and stuff like that. So if anyone's interested, I can send links. But that might also be able to help draft some ordinances or like tell us if we're going in the right direction or whatever.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Jess, what do you think about that? As someone who was a planner in that sort of way.
Sorry, I had distraction by my puppy, so I kind of missed a little bit of it. So what was that? So using an AI chat box to help draft zoning? Is that?
Yeah, sort of.
Jamie just
I created basically a custom GPT plugin, or it's built on ChatGPT, and it can pull from the zoning ordinance and actually look at the real data and help us create or form recommendations around what we have. And it we can give it instructions on, we want to make affordable housing easier to build. And to give an example, I asked it a question earlier today and it was special permitting process, permit expiration upon sale, and size limitations for ADUs. And it like gave specific like sections of the zoning ordinance and like different wording changes we could employ. So it seems like pretty powerful for this kind of application.
Yeah, give it a whirl, see how it works. Then the planners won't have any jobs anymore.
Yeah.
That's not true.
Well, that's not true, but I'd love to see how that works.
Yeah. that's-
Where would we find a link for that?
So is there something you can send us, Chaim, or do you want to show it to us at the next meeting? I don't understand what you're saying, but I believe it's cool.
Yeah, I can send a link to be included in the minutes for this meeting. I don't think it's ready for prime time just yet, but yeah.
I'd love to play with it.
Mhm.
If you send a link somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to play with that too.
I just, my caution is that just make sure that you have some developer side perspective, because I think that's often where the zoning gets lost, is that it's in these ideals and policies that we've been told or we think are a good idea, but then when the rubber hits the road or when a development actually needs to happen, there might not be a community understanding of what it takes to actually do that and all of the different processes to that. So that's where I would just I think it would be a good sort of first step as like an initial look, but you definitely want to make sure that you're verifying this information with people who actually build and do development. That would be my one word of caution.
It doesn't it have to be
100%.
with like Massachusetts general laws too? Like, aren't there other things that you have to make sure it's in compliance with?
Well, yeah, so you would have 40A that it would need to be compliance with. That's the state zoning enabling legislation.
There's some things we can't regulate.
Yeah.
Some things we can't do for zoning.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm sure Chaim has probably already thought of all of that, but I wanted to also say though that we, for sure, Connie Denham, city councilors Connie Denham and Tom Peak are very interested in being part of talking about changes to zoning, which is good because we need partners to bring suggested changes to city council. So we could potentially invite them to the December meeting if we think.
I don't think
we're not there
ready.
yet.
I think we should read what Jamie sent us.
Yes.
And all come with some ideas to the December meeting of something that we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think bringing them on later. I think we need to have some
conversation first.
Have some proposals before we.
A working meeting.
Huh?
A working meeting.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I don't think we'll have any other visitors. And we've had a lot of visitors.
Yeah.
I mean, like presenters and stuff. So I don't think we'll have anybody for December. So I think we should plan to do that for December.
Which is when again?
It's
in my email.
It's on a weird date. Hold on.
Yeah, I also realized I hijacked like in the middle of a motion in a second. So like if we want to actually vote on that, we can.
December 12th.
I think that was just the motion to not talk about this tonight.
It's not a real motion.
So our next meeting is December 12th at 6. It's upstairs in conference room 1. And I think, yes, we should.
This should be the only thing on the agenda.
I think this should be the only thing on the agenda. And I think we should all try to read this before that meeting so that we have some thoughts and feelings before we get to the meeting.
Is there anything that you need me to do?
I think you did it.
Yeah, you did it.
I forget what I did.
You sent us something that you highlighted a whole bunch of
Yeah, I
things.
highlighted a whole bunch of things that related to
the stuff we've already talked about.
The stuff we talked
And the
about.
community character.
Community character.
Compatibility with the character of the surrounding residential area. Yes,
and
you
like-
did.
But I don't know when you sent it out, if you included the I think there was like an email that went around along with it that was like, this is what I tried to pull out.
I sent that originally. I don't think I sent it the second time when I sent it for this meeting, but I think I can.
It might be helpful just to give some context as to what the.
I will send that in advance. Context to data. Okay. All right. In the old days, we used to always have like cookies and snacks at our December meetings. Maybe I'll make you some cookies.
Oh. And maybe they'll be virtual. People have to join virtually.
Oh, right. Jim Valancourt used to bring sandwiches. Betty used to bring shrimp cocktail.
That's right. And I brought whatever.
We had like a holiday party.
We did.
That's
We used to have
adorable.
a holiday
It was
party.
adorable.
Very
But
fun.
we have work to do this time.
Yep. Well,
All the more reason for
snacks
snacks.
No, we need snacks.
Go
We need
together.
snacks.
Okay.
Okay.
We can approve all cookies.
And Donna, I'm asking Janet to add you to just our list, our email list, so that you can know when things are coming up, and then you can decide if you want to officially approach the mayor about joining this
Okay,
committee.
thank you. Yeah, I'd be interested. I know you're talking about something for people to read for the next meeting, and I will be out of the country for the next meeting, so I won't be here, but I would be interested to try to kind of come up to speed a little bit, or, you know, kind of understand what, and Jackie, you and I can talk a little bit more about this if you have a couple of minutes, but just to understand what the role would be, and how I could be helpful in joining the committee or joining the board.
Great.
Yeah, great. All right, do I have a motion to end the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. All right, I'm going to stop the recording. If I can.
Do we need to vote?
Oh, do we vote to end the meeting?
I mean, all in
I never
favor?
understood the point of voting to the meeting. It's like,
There we go.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.